Hello, National University CSET students. This is David Goyette with Extended Learning, just going over some of the U.S. history topics that you will find on the first diagnostic exam and preparing you for the CSET. What I want to do is give you a sense like you're getting a sense of getting an idea of what the CSET questions are like. So I've selected a lot of those that you can find on the CSET website, in addition to those I recall from taking the exam, and also test questions that, in surveying my students over the last several sessions, I've been able to put together. So what I'm going to do now is go over some of the topics that you'll find on that first diagnostic test to prepare you for that exam. Now, like I said, there are quite a variety of topics in world history and U.S. history to center in on, and of course we go all the way back to the discovery of the Americas in this first diagnostic. So there's quite an expanse of information. So I do want to remind you that when you see that first test and you open it, please don't panic. There'll be some questions there that you maybe didn't cover that information in detail, and you may not know 100% which answer it is. Use your test-taking skills that we reviewed to approach those in a way that narrows it down to the two best possible answers, and then take the best guess. In some cases you can, a reasonable guess, educated guess in those cases if you're not 100% sure. And everyone I've talked to runs into a question or two like that. There are a couple of students I've run into that walked away 100% confident that they did well, but they are usually in the minority when I teach this and then talking to my colleagues. So let's begin by talking about the discovery of the Americas. And of course, Christopher Columbus. I'm going to go over a question that you'll encounter. So just as Columbus' crew were beginning to threaten him with mutinous looks of frustration and anger, one of his crewmen, Rodrigo, spotted on the moonlit cliffs an island off in the distance. Although Columbus had promised a grand reward to the first sailor to spot land, Columbus said he saw it first the night before and kept the loot for himself. Whether it was Watling Island or the Bahamas or Samana Cay, the New World was not what Columbus was originally searching for. What was the objective of this voyage? Now, the question is asking, of course, what was Columbus looking for in his search? And of course, the answer here is to find a new route to India and China while looking for other sources of gold and spices. Columbus sailed away on August 3rd, 1492, from Palos, Spain, aboard 3 ships, Nina, Pinta, and the flagship Santa Maria. Of course, he wasn't aboard all 3. That'd be kind of impossible. He was promised 10% of the profits, governorship of the newfound lands, and the title of Admiral of the Ocean Seas. Quite a nice title. Ferdinand Magellan was the first to circumnavigate the globe in 1521, 39 years after Columbus's first voyage to the New World. The main purpose of his voyage was to, of course, find a direct route to China and the West, and the Indies. And of course, that's why he named them the West Indies, or they were named the West Indies. One of the great resources, if you run into it, pick up the diary of Columbus. What I like about it is you get little gems like this, the passages where that you'll encounter in Howard Zinn's History of the United States, where it shows his Howard Zinn's making the point that this guy was no Boy Scout. He had a certain agenda, and of course his treatment of the Arawaks was very brutal. But his diary entries are very interesting. Of course, Saturday, October 3rd, he says, as soon as it dawned, many of these people came to the beach, all young, as I have said, and all of good stature, very handsome people, with hair not curly but straight, and coarse like horsehair, and all of them very wide in the forehead and head, more so than any other race I've seen so far. And their eyes, all very handsome and not small, and none of them are black, but of a color of the Canary Islanders. Nor should anything else be expected, since the island is so on the east-west line with the island of Hierro and the Canaries. All alike have very straight legs and no belly, but are very well formed. They come to the ship with dugouts that are made from the trunks of one tree, like a long boat, and all in one piece, and worked marvelously in the fashion of the land, and so big that in some of them 44 or 45 men came. In other smaller, down to one, some came one man alone. They row with a paddle like that of a baker, and so marvelously. So it's and there are other fascinating diary entries here, like when his crewmen first spot things in the water that are evidence of tooled items, things that look like they've been worked over with iron, and they're indications that they're getting close to some civilization or some land. So the fascinating little discoveries. Great read. Of course, not something that I read cover to cover. I kind of read it as a resource. It's really fun to read, just flip through. Okay, how does let's go on to another one here. How does the New World, or the Mundus Novus, gain the name America? The new territory is eventually named after Columbus's daughter, America. Of course, this is a false etymology. His daughter was not America. It gets it from Amerigo Vespucci, another Italian sailing for Spain, along with Alonso de Ojeda, claimed to be captain of the 4 voyages to the mouth of the Amazon in Brazil, and was later given the honor of having his name applied to the continent. Okay, despite the successful global empire and victory over her rivals, Great Britain's control over colonies proved an area of dispute. Regarding the American colonies, this European statesman predicted a push for independence. And of course goes through Edmund Burke, Comte de Rochambeau, William Pitt, Thomas Paine. And William Pitt made some statements to this. Count Vergennes, Vergennes, Charles Gavier Vergennes was a French statesman who made the accurate prophecy that Britain would lose the colonies to uprisings in the colonies. The colonist and explorer Sir Walter Raleigh, he's our man, sent ships to North America and named the land they settled Virginia in honor of Queen Elizabeth, the Virgin Queen. Raleigh is also known for his attempts to establish a colony in Roanoke. The inhospitable island was susceptible to attacks from natives, and supplies were delayed by the Spanish Armada. The failed settlement is called the Lost Colony. When ships finally arrived in 1590, the pioneers were disappeared almost without a trace. Some rusted debris, and the word Croatoan, Croatoan, was found carved into a tree. Starvation and raids probably killed off the colonists. Survivors may have been taken in by more friendly native people. What is most historically reasonable explanation for the definition of the term Puritan? Puritans felt strongly that the Church of England was too accepting of Rome's dictates and urged a purification that would keep the Pope out of their affairs. There was also the more general position held by the Puritans that the Church of England was corrupt and needed to be purified, thus the root Puritan or purification. Puritans were escaping the influence of Calvinism. Puritans were influenced by Calvinism and shared many of the doctrinal positions and attitudes regarding what they saw as pagan Rome. And Puritans stayed loyal to the Church of England and were not like the sinners. Well, actually, no, they did not. That was one of the options, and of course, you can reject that one. 3,000 of these early American settlers were imprisoned under Charles II, known as the Society of Friends. They took the Thou Shalt Not Kill commandment very seriously and began a pacifist religion that called for no ministry or clergy to lead them. They are more commonly known by this name. And we have Methodists, Lutherans,